Let's get after it. There you go.
Welcome to the Gold Medal Excellence Podcast. I'm your host, AJ Payne. And today in the program, we're joined by Marcus Cromartie. Marcus, thanks for coming on the program.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Of course, man.
You come from an athletic family, so talk about what your early playing career was like and what your household was like full of good athletes.
I mean, just like anyone else, man. I was the smallest and youngest at the time, and I think that's what made me as successful as I was, because I was always trying to be like them. I think just having someone to look up to and having family that you see that if they can do it, I can do it as well. And I think that was just big for me.
Mm-hmm. You have cousins who are NFL players, correct?
Correct. Yep. I got several cousins who play in the NFL. Two of them who went first round, and they just they set the bar high, which allowed me to go and chase them the best way I possibly can. I wasn't a first round draft pick, but I think just having that example showed me what hard work can get.
And talk more about your high school years.
High school was fun, man. I got the privilege of playing in two different states. I played in New Orleans originally, and then moved to Texas and was able to play Texas high school football, which was completely different. It allowed me to kind of see things from a university perspective before I got to university, because a lot of times when not people say Texas football is almost like playing in college. You just how big and the stadiums are and how the city kind of takes into the team. It was an amazing experience. If you haven't had a chance to go watch football in Texas, I suggest you do.
Yeah. Talk about that, little Marcus. So you came from New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
Hurricane Katrina.
Sure.
You ended up in Texas.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about that. And New Orleans is a hotbed of talent. I mean, Louisiana has almost more D1 players than any state, and it's not nearly as big as California. So, and then you went to Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I think me being successful in Texas was because I came from New Orleans and because I came from Louisiana, and just that grime and that dog-eat-dog mentality that's in the South, in terms of like, you have to really work hard to get up out your situation. And I think that's what made me so successful when I got to Texas, and I was able to be around nicer facilities. I seen the nice facilities, like, man, there are guys who would kill to be where you at. And so I never gave anyone an opportunity to not see that I wanted it more than they did. But yeah, man, I mean, coming from New Orleans and then going to Texas, it was a shell shock for me personally. But I took advantage of my opportunities.
Yeah, it was. It's a New Orleans, the Wards, Katrina. But New Orleans has amazing people. Like I tell people, Marshall Falk came from New Orleans.
Peyton Manning.
You have the private school, but you have it's just a ridiculous amount of talent coming out of Louisiana, especially. And
some of the best players that you just see today, I mean, from Odell Beckham to me, came from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So talk more about your recruiting story and how you ended up landing at Wisconsin.
Oh, I always tell the story, man. I said Wisconsin, they got on me early, and my official visit was in the summer because they knew I had to go when it was warm. It happened so quickly. I was a track guy, and I was running well, just as well as playing well in football. And so it was my junior year of high school, and I went out to the Nike camp. I performed well at the Nike camp. This is back when there wasn't a million different camps to go to. There was one camp this summer, and that was the Nike Invitational camp. It wasn't like a Nike camp that you can just walk up to. It was like an invite only. And I got invited to it. And usually if you got invited to it, you go to that Nike camp with the hope that you will leave with some offers. The Nike camp I went to was at the University of Georgia. So me and my parents, we drove up to Athens, Georgia. I went against some of the best players in high school at the time that I wound up actually playing against later on in the NFL. Funny story. But I performed well, and coming out that weekend, the offers just came raining down. First it was Air Force, then Tulsa, then TCU, then Wisconsin. And when I got that Wisconsin offer, and just knowing that I can play in the Big Ten, I think I jumped on it. And it's funny because a lot more offers came, the SEC offers came, but it was something about, it's almost like when you get your first girlfriend, it's something special. Wisconsin was special to me because they was one of the first teams to recruit me. It was, and then just seeing that year, my junior year, they wanted to finish 12-1. So I just knew I was going to a good program, a program with a lot of history. They played in several Rose Bowls before that time. And you just think about the opportunity to play in the Big Ten, to play at the Big House, to play at the Shoe versus Ohio State. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, I've said something like this. I had another parent tell me this, another athlete. He said, getting your first scholarship offer. And I've been a college coach. Marcus knows that. And I tell people, I said, man, getting your first scholarship offer is getting like your first credit card offer.
Yeah.
Like once you get in the mail and you get one credit card, they're giving you 20 other ones. And like you said, you started with Air Force. Like Air Force, hey, not a bad program, but Air Force of Wisconsin, then you said the SEC and all that. Like, so kids need to know that, like, that's how it starts. It's a trickle down.
It's when it rains, it pours. And if you do the work, they'll come find you. And that was one thing that my track coach told me, because I was like, why am I running track? I'm trying to get a football scholarship. He's like, when they see your times in the newspaper and they know you play football, they're going to come get you. And I'll never forget when I broke 21 for the first time as a junior in high school. It's like I hit a whole nother realm. And then when I hit 21 low, and then it's, and then I'm talking 200-meter times for those who don't know. And when I hit 21 low, then all of a sudden the offer just came.
Just for people who don't know, me being the track coach and training football players, the track times always solidify the football time. So you hear these guys say, I ran 4.445, but you really don't know if that's true. But if Marcus says, man, I ran 21.2, the football coach knows what that means. He's like, this dude's a legitimate 4.4 guy. A legitimate 4.5 guy or faster. And
faster.
Yeah.
And talk more about your college years and what it was like playing for Wisconsin when you landed on campus.
It was great. It was definitely a learning experience. Going to the Big Ten, I would tell people, if you haven't never watched the Big Ten football, it's more NFL-like than you would think. And I say that to say it's 20 passes a game, maybe 30 runs a game. And so it's a lot of tackling. If you can't tackle, don't go for the defensive side. If you're not used to blocking that receiver, don't go, because you're going to have to do those things. And it was a learning experience for me when I first got there, and it took me a while. But, in this day and age where players are transferring, back then you had to be patient. And I was patient. I waited my time. I redshirted, had another year where I didn't play. And then finally my third year, I broke the depth chart. And then I started the last 2 years, started 26 games in a row, I believe. So I played in 2 Rose Bowls, started 2 Rose Bowls. And so it took me a while, but it was well worth the wait. And I tell guys, man, sometimes they're not. And instead of just running and finding the easy way, it's better to be patient.
I would say elaborate a little more, because the way you said that is true. The Big Ten used to be like that, but I've seen the NFL go more towards. For sure. Now they're going to the college. They're hiring a college coach. You're hiring. Arizona hired the Texas Tech coach. So the NFL is now copy. It used to be that college ran the option, the wishbone, and college offenses. And NFL, you had to be pro style. And now, if you look college, the NFL's modeling college. I even saw Wisconsin say we got to pass more. So just elaborate a little on that, just because it's the game's changed.
The game's definitely changed. I mean, it's not the throw 10 times a game anymore. You're not going to see that anymore. But I would say in the NFL, teams usually still need a good running back in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's somewhere down the middle. It might not be pass heavy like Pac-12. It might not be heavy like Big Ten. It might be a little more neutral, SEC or whatever it may be. But it's definitely has gotten to the point where these teams, they know in order to compete, in not just college football, but NFL football, you need a good quarterback. You need a couple of receivers, not just one.
Yeah.
And after spending your time in Wisconsin, you ended up making the Chargers at 2013 as an undrafted free agent. So talk more about your transition going from college to the NFL.
Oh, well, yeah, I think that to me is the biggest jump in terms of when you become a professional, and how do you separate yourself? Because when you get to that level, everybody's kind of the same. I always say that on a 53-man roster, there's about 15 to 20 players that you can see a substantial talent level differential. And then the rest of those guys are really, really close. And the guys who last long are the guys that are professionals. They're the best professionals. They're the ones who know how to plan around their day. When you get to NFL, you're no longer a collegiate athlete, so you don't have class anymore. So you have to fill out your day with things that's going to help your craft and things that's going to allow you to be a successful pro down the line. And so what I was fortunate with was when I got to NFL and I got to the Chargers, there was a number of vets who kind of had a compass in terms of, if I followed them, I knew I would be successful. And I kind of just did what they did because they had years and years and years, guys like Eric Weddle and guys like Brandon Flowers, guys who were perennial, not just good players, but Pro Bowl guys. And you see how they carried themselves, how they was the first one in the building, the last one out. And you kind of take that motto. It's like, okay, I might not be the most talented. I might not be like this first round draft pick or the second round draft pick, but nobody's going to outwork me. And I think that's the mentality that every rookie should have, because if you're a first rounder, you have that mentality. That's what makes you a Pro Bowler. If you're an undrafted rookie, you have that mindset. That's what makes you a 5, 6, 7, 10-year type of starter or player in this league. Everybody's really good. I always had a coach in college that said, control the controllables. You know, you control the things that you can control. Your work ethic and your attitude. If those two things are constant, the rest will take care of itself.
What made them want to sign you? There was definitely some intangibles. And then I want to say one other thing. People don't know this. Undrafted free agents make up the majority of the NFL rosters. Yeah. I have read those figures. Mm-hmm. People think like the first round draft picks. No, you either make it or you're a bust. If you look at the numbers, undrafted free agents, I don't know the numbers, Marcus, but I think they were like 50%, 60%.
I think it was 60.
Okay, yeah. So talk just a little bit. Say that, yeah. Like, you're undrafted free agent, you didn't get drafted. You thought you should have get drafted, but like, why did they draft you? And then just
Well, when you go into that process, you just never know. I ran a 4.3 on my pro day, so I was very confident that I was going to get drafted. The days before the draft, most teams were telling me, well, if you're there in the 5th round, if you're there in the 6th round, we're going to take you. It gets to draft time and just teams that the phones just stop ringing. And, the draft ends and you're disappointed, but, you can do two things. You can wallow in your disappointment, or you can allow yourself to be encouraged that there are teams that still want you. So when the draft ended, the Chargers called me minutes, maybe seconds after the draft ended. It was like, look, we want you on the team. We're going to sign you as an undrafted rookie, and we're going to give you an opportunity to make the team. And that's all I really asked for. And I think as an undrafted rookie, the best thing to have is an intangible, like something that you're good at, that a coach can be like, you know what, if we don't have him on the team, we're going to lose this. And for me, it was my speed. I was a guy who can run. I was a guy who can play special teams. And I knew that would give me an edge when it came to making the team.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Mark is very fast. I've worked with him, very, very explosive.
I appreciate it.
You also spend time on practice squad teams with the Browns and the Bills. So what is it like being on the practice squad as well?
Back in the day, being on the practice squad, you were seen as like, an extension of the team. Nowadays, veterans can be on the practice squad. Mm-hmm. When I was coming up, that was more tailored to young guys, 1st, 2nd, maybe even 3rd-year players. Now you're seeing 6, 7, 8-year guys on the practice squad. And it's kind of just a way to kind of keep a roster spot for guys. I think the practice squad is a good way just to get in the building. And what you'll learn in football is not getting there, it's staying there. And so the guys who are successful in this game are guys who can stay in the building no matter what. So, to people that's not seeing the behind the scenes and, all the things that's going on in terms of an NFL team, the practice squad guy, he's just as capable to help win a game as a starter. It's just sometimes the opportunities, sometimes the injuries, or sometimes it's just, it's one intangible that's lacking on his part. Maybe it's his speed, maybe it's his height, or whatever it may be. But these guys can play as well. And I was lucky because, the practice squad for me was just another way for me to get reps at a high level and a way to stay in the building, work on my craft. A lot of times they're not. You're part of the scout team, so you're the ones that's giving the starters the look, preparing them for the game. And so you can work on techniques that you normally wouldn't get to work on because, you have to make sure that you stay perfect. You have to always stay perfect. Well, when I'm scout team, I can kind of work on my quick jam because I'm not really worried about getting beat because, the coaches kind of want you to get beat because we're preparing the offense for their game. So I can kind of work on things, work on my technique a little more, find out what I'm good at, find out what I'm bad at. And so that was a good way for me just to kind of not only stay in the building, but work on my craft.
Yeah, you're right. You see these all pro guys on the practice squads now.
Yeah.
Your teammate from Wisconsin, Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon, all pro, and I'm looking and he's on the practice squad.
Yes, and it just tells you
it's
how
changed.
It's changed. And Melvin Gordon is still a great player. It's still phenomenal player. Still very capable of helping a team win. And it just shows you sometimes you have to wait for another opportunity to kind of contribute to the team. But at the end of the day, Melvin has found a way to stay in the building. He's a multiple Pro Bowl player. And I think the narrative around the practice squad is changing because it used to be the narrative that these guys were the guys who couldn't make the team. But now these are the guys who have been on teams, but, the rosters might be just a little deep at the time.
Tell everybody about if you're on the practice squad, you're an undrafted free agent, the season starts, I've worked with you. It's week 5 of the NFL season and someone brings you in for a tryout, they bring you in, or it's week 13. Just talk about like how the challenges of that. Like, all right, they're bringing me in for week 8, and I'm going to play the last 8 weeks of the season. I'm going to get a year accrued, NFL for my pension. But the challenge, or I might get cut next week and a new team flies me in. I don't think people see that. They just see all these guys are stars. No, there's a working class.
There's a revolving door constantly in the NFL. And I tell guys, if you ever seen a transaction list on a weekly basis, it's ridiculous. It's numbers and numbers and numbers of guys getting released and called up and tried out. For one, I would say that the moment you're an NFL player, the moment you get signed or the moment your collegiate season is done, you are officially controlled of your time. And when I say that is, if a team calls you in week 8, that doesn't mean that you was doing nothing from week 1 or week 7. Every single day, even while you're home, you have to constantly be training, constantly stay in shape, because when you get called up by these teams for workouts, they're not allowing you to go through a camp or a couple practices to get it going. You got to hit the door. You got to hit the ground running. And you have to be a professional in that sense. And I think that is the hardest thing for young guys to understand. Like, even when I'm home, I have to be ready as if I'm on the team, because the next day I will never forget, I was at home and, just in the pool with my son on a Tuesday. I was running down on kickoff on a Thursday. And that's how quick it was. I flew out on Tuesday, was signed on Wednesday, did a workout Wednesday morning, was signed on Wednesday, and I played in the game on Thursday or Friday. It's like preseason. And that's how quick it can happen. And because I was, constantly ready, constantly staying in shape, I was ready for that moment. But these guys don't understand that. And on the flip side, when you're on practice squad and when you're on a team, you have to be ready that they might bring somebody in. So you can't take days off. You can't have days where, you're not feeling your best, or you don't want to come, or, there might be some type of reason why you're not playing to the best of your ability. They're going to get somebody new in there. So it's a constant revolving door. Obviously they say jobs that are the best jobs are the ones you got to work hardest for. So, and that's the case when it comes to the NFL roster.
Yeah, not for long.
Not for long.
What were some of your favorite experiences being an NFL player?
Oh, for me, it's easily the locker room. Those guys and they're your brothers, literally. You spend more time with them than probably, your girlfriend or your wife or whatever it may be, because it's 7 days a week. Even an off day, you'll most times will not see, if not all the roster, at least 80% of the roster in the facility on the off day, whether it's them getting an extra workout in, or them stretching, or getting a jog in or using a sauna, hot tub, whatever it may be. You're seeing these guys every single day. So you're growing a relationship with these guys. You're learning what they like and what they don't like. And to me, that was my favorite part of the game, was kind of getting to know the players and because this is like a melting pot. White, black, green, yellow, it doesn't matter. Different ethnic backgrounds, different religion, just so many different types of people, and you bond over one thing, and that's winning football games.
Yeah, I would just a little bit. I would hear Marcus say, me and Marcus would talk, but I'd hear him say, yeah, Chris, I'm going to golf with Reggie Bush today. So think about that. He's on the 49ers for a minute. And he's like, I'm going to the golf course with Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
That's bonding.
That's bonding. And not just Reggie, all the players, man. But and these the guys that I grew up watching. And you get an opportunity to be in a locker room and see that not only are they great football players, but they're great men. And they're great people. And they have families just like me and you. And even though they may run a 4-3, they have problems in their life just as we do. So they're just great men. And I have the pleasure to be in a locker room with a lot of them.
Spent 6 years in the NFL. Then after that, spent 2019 with Montreal. So what was it like going to Canada to play pro football? And what were the difference between Canada and the NFL?
Oh man, it's totally different. Canada is more laid back. The days where you might be in a facility for 3 hours a day, 3-4 hours tops. It's not long at all. 8 to 12 or 9 to 12 or 9 to 1. It was short days. And if you're looking to end a career on your own terms, I would suggest people, give it a try, because the NFL, like I said, it's almost like that girl who don't want you anymore. She stopped calling, like leave her alone. And at the end of the day, it's like, do you want to give up on your dream, or do you want to see, if I still got a little bit left in the tank? And Canadian Football League for me was an opportunity to end the game on my own terms. I was kind of like, dealing with some injuries. I had knee surgery, dealing with a couple of soft tissue injuries. And I was like, I don't think I can do it anymore, but let me see. And for me, it was an honor because I was able to make the team. I was able to compete one last time. The game is totally different. I mean, it's played with 12 players instead of 11, which is, different off the bat.
Three downs.
There's not a lot that's actually the same, other than the fact that touchdowns wins games, and you're still playing with a pigskin. But other than that, man, the game is totally different. But yeah, there was a lot of great guys in those locker rooms. They got a lot of guys who played in the NFL at one point who just thought just like me. I want to keep playing until I can't play no more. Fortunate for me, I saw bigger for myself, and I wanted to help out guys that came after me. And so the CFL didn't last long for me.
Just to piggyback off that, just one question. I know there's a rule. How many American players are allowed on a CFL roster? People don't know that. It's not like you can just go to Canada. It's limited, right? They got to have certain Canadian players.
And I think that's why I emphasize on me making the team in Canada, because a lot of guys think that, okay, well, of course you made the team. Use an NFL player. Well, on a Canadian roster, it's now 53, it's 44. And out of those 44 players, only 20 can be Americans.
Yeah.
It's only 20 Americans on that team. And I'm talking, when we're in training camp, it's 60, 70 guys from America all trying to get 20 spots. And these aren't guys who can't play. These are guys who maybe played a year or two in the NFL, or really good in college, but they just didn't stick in NFL. These are guys who are young, who can still play. I always say the CFL is a great place for young guys who want to continue to make a living playing football.
Spent 7 years professionally in football. Who impressed you on the field?
Oh man, that list is endless, man. I was always a big fan of Phillip Rivers. I thought he doesn't get the love he deserves, because I thought he was a gunslinger, man. I thought he was a guy who would really play the game. Guys like Antonio Gates, Keenan Allen, that dude there is phenomenal. He's still playing at a high level. He's one of the few guys. He's probably been on his team, I think, got to be like 11 years now. He's been on the Chargers. So, whenever you can stay on the same team for more than 6-7 years, it's always impressive. He's done it for 11. So, guys like that. I was always a fan of Frank Gore. I got an opportunity to play with Patrick Willis, who was, to me, one of the best linebackers of our time. Yeah. Being in the locker room with Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor, these guys are Hall of Famers in my eyes. So there's a surplus of guys I can say, but those are the guys that kind of stick out to in my mind right away.
Was there ever any guys you're a practice or in a game, you're like, I can't cover this guy. Or like, you know, I meant like
I
let's not
know.
say I can't cover him, but we're battling and we got 10 tries. I'm like, I'm only gonna get this dude 2 or 3 out of 10.
No, I never thought like that. And I think
Okay.
I don't think you can think like that, because I think for me personally is, I wanted to go against the guys who I consider the best. I mean, obviously I can say guys like Keenan Allen, I can say guys like Anquan Bolden
Yeah.
and Crabtree and Brandon Lloyd, guys who are really good players. But to me personally, whenever I lined up against a receiver, my whole mind was, I can run with him. And if I can run with him, I can play with him. And yeah, that's how I thought.
Yeah, you have some. I remember you beat Calvin Johnson on some plays.
Yeah. Oh well, yes. I mean, Calvin
People don't
Johnson,
know that Marcus Cromartie, he got some highlight tapes, but
sure.
he showed Calvin
Calvin,
Johnson's the first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's
Calvin
had some great
Johnson,
plays
Julio
against him.
Jones. I played against a number of good players. Tyler Lockett, who I thought was a very good player when I played
Oh, he's
against.
phenomenal.
These guys can really go, man. But you know what? I think it's one of those things where when you're going against some of the best players in the NFL, it's going to bring your level, it's going to bring your game up, and it's going to show you who you really are. And at the end of the day, those guys were in those same locker rooms and me in high school and college, and now it's the NFL, and they got a little more notoriety around their name. But at the end of the day, it's football, so you gotta play the game.
Mm-hmm. And after your playing career, you move on to become an NFL agent. So how much did being a player help in your agency career?
Oh man, it's everything, man. I mean, I got into this business because I wanted to help the guys out that came before me. That's what it was all about to me. It was helping, being that gap, being that bridge, that gap, the business side to the players, and helping the guys that come after me. And I always tell these guys, whether you make 100,000 or 100 million, life after football is difficult and it can be stressful. And you need people that's been in your shoes to help guide you through that. And you have this space of athletes who are still trying to figure it out. And what better way for an athlete to figure out is to have another athlete who represents them, former athlete.
Yeah, I think the biggest deal, I know I've worked with a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest deal I would see for them after they were retired was a lot of them had a plan. They had a business plan, but a lot of them didn't. It was
Yeah.
like their life was almost over.
Yeah.
Like they'd be in a funk, or they had to spend time. So like, for you to know, people don't. This is phenomenal for Marcus to say this. Like, he knew, like, okay, this is gonna be short for me, and I'm gonna do this. But for you NFL players out there, yeah, you guys got to have a plan. Well, all right, what's after? It's 10 years, 7 years?
I would
Whatever.
say this. I would say this. The problem is, and I'm not saying it's a bad problem, but the problem is a lot of young athletes, 2021, who wants to think about the end of their career when their beginning is just starting. You ask a guy who's in college, who's about to start his NFL career, what do you want to do after you're done playing? They're like, after I'm done playing, I'm just starting. And but I tell guys, the best time to think about what you want to do after is while you're still in it. Once the music stops playing, and you no longer wear that shield that says NFL, it's not that you don't get the same you don't get the same love, you don't get the same notoriety. There's just a lot of opportunities that dissipate when you no longer have the shield. So I tell guys to think about what they're doing now, so when you're done, you know exactly what you want to do, and not what you want to do, but what you don't like doing as well. So try different things. Try things that you may think is, man, I won't like this. And you might not like it, but it's one less thing you have to worry about when you're done playing. It's like, well, I know I can't do this, and I know I can't do this, but you know what? I did this my second year in the NFL during the offseason. I loved it. I did real estate. I don't know if you know Tyler Lockett. He's got his real estate license. He does real estate right now while he's still playing.
Yep.
So when he's done playing, he knows exactly what he's going to do. Guys who do like Draymond Green, who does the NBA, on camera stuff. He knows when he's done, he knows exactly what he's doing. These guys have taken their opportunities while they're playing, because when they're done, their resume is filled. I think the thing that hurts players, and I talk to young guys about this all the time, if you have a nice career of 7, 8, 9 years and you retire and you're 30, 31 years old, even though your skills are transferable as well as, at being an NFL player, a lot of times your resume doesn't say much because you've been in the NFL for the last 8 years. And you get into corporate America where they expect you to have this long resume and you haven't worked on things outside of being a football player. So I just encourage guys, like I said, whether you make 100 million or 100,000, you're going to want to do something at the game of football and be prepared to do it.
So you only live 1/3 of your life. The paychecks come in. If you're made it big, they come in big, and then they crash and stop. So you have to have a plan. You have to be like, what else do I like? That's why college is important. Networking is important. What are you going to do? Because when it stops fast.
For sure. Networking is very important.
Exactly what you have to do to qualify to be an agent in pro sports?
Well, you need an advanced degree. I was fortunate enough to have my MBA, but also 7 years of negotiating experience, which kind of qualifies me because I played 7 years professionally. So you either have to have 7 years of negotiating experience or an advanced degree, so a master's of some sort. And you got to pass a test, and then you'll be a certified advisor. And the test it can be difficult if you're not used to the sports NFL terminology, but I think anybody who wants to get into this business, they can do it. But I would say it's the people you know, not what you know.
Yeah, it's all about who you. I tell people it's about who you know and not what you know.
Yeah.
So,
did you have like a mentor or a tutor or somebody to teach you and help you prepare for the exams?
Well, not really. I was fortunate enough that my agent, who I still work with now, he was good enough to me to be like, hey, I think you'd be good at this. You should come work with me. And so, we talk about, and a lot of agents say, man, we're going to be like family. They tell their guys, we're going to be like family. We're going to be like this. He really was like family to me. And I think some of it is hearsay, but what better example of family for me is the fact that I still work with my agent. And so I was fortunate enough that he was able to kind of help me along the way in terms of putting me in position to be successful now. As far as just studying for the exam, a lot of those things that I took during the exams I did as a player. Whether it's player benefits, pension, workers' comp, these are all things I did as a player. So when I took the exam, it was like, oh, I did this. This is easy. How many games is a credit season? Well, it's 3. Everybody knows that. These are the things that I knew before I even studied for the exam. So it was almost just like a refresher for me.
That's awesome, especially you say that, because a lot of people, if I'm an agent, I might not want a former player coming in. You might steal my client. You might take my shine. You might be able to come in. So for you to say that because you said everybody else family is family until you're in my pockets.
And I would even say just the typical agent 10, 15, 20 years ago were former lawyers. And they're still lawyers today, but more guys are getting into that space. They just have an expertise on not just contract negotiation, but understanding players and being more like a player liaison. Because a lot of these guys are 20, 21, 22 years old. They've never set up an electricity bill. They don't know how to do a deed of a home or anything else. And so you're kind of helping a player along as they go. I hate to use the word father figure, but like an older brother or uncle or someone that can be like, hey, this is what you should do in order to be successful, but not just the next 5 to 10 years of your life, but the next 40 to 50 years of your life.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch, I love beast mode. He said, I didn't know what to do with my first check. He said, I walked around with it for 3 months. Yeah. Can you imagine that? Marshawn Lynch, a first round draft. He said, I didn't know what to do. I didn't have no bank account. I know nothing else from Oakland. Like, people don't know this. It's like
no, they don't. And that's why it's important. That's why it's important to have the right people around you.
Yes.
As an agent, what are the best and toughest parts of the job?
I mean, I said the best part is clearly just being able to see myself in some of these players. I know their lives are changing and kind of seeing that change as it goes and seeing them turn from, this bright-eyed, wide-eyed 21-year-old player to, the veteran they possibly can be. And I think just the downfalls and disappointments of this job is the fact that you can't convince everybody. You want to help every single player, and you might see a life and vision for their career more than they can. But at the end of the day, it's their decision to go with whoever they like to help lead their career. But for me personally, I think that I can help these players out in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. And final thoughts as we're kind of winding down this podcast. Do you have any specific, like, crazy behind the scenes stories of being an agent representing players?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, there's times where you have brand deals and you have to fulfill certain brand deals, whether it be Nike, Adidas, or whatever it may be. And the player might twist his ankle, so he's covering a Nike sign or Adidas sign, and the brand is mad. The player's like, hey, it's my ankle, I got to protect it. And so you have to go around the way to make sure that both the brand and the player are happy. So one time I had to get stickers and tell the player to put it on his cleats. So, he was still showing the Nike sign and not covering the logo. So there's always things behind the scenes that you don't see. It's just a very interesting profession. I would tell people this. Don't get into this profession if you think it's like Jerry Maguire.
I'm glad you said that.
They have moments where it's like Jerry Maguire, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not Jerry Maguire. There's a lot of times that you're just in an airport by yourself, or you're going from city to city. It can be a grind sometimes. There's a lot to be grateful for, but definitely know that what I'm here to do is I'm here to help out guys that were like me. I'm here to help guys get to that next part of their life where they can be like, you know what? He helped me in my 20s. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where I would be. That's what I live for, those moments.
Yeah. Being an agent is like being a coach, financial advisor, whatever. It's selling. You have to sit there, and these guys got to trust you.
Yep.
They're going to have 100 other people coming at you. They're going to have family members coming at you. Don't talk to this guy. I got a guy.
Yep.
So, I'm glad Marcus gave us some perspective on that.
Sure.
It's not like, oh, just Jerry, it can be Jerry Maguire if you're that top guy and you got 3 or 4, but it's a hustle.
It's a hustle.
It's what Marcus is doing is what I was doing, recruiting athletes at Cal State LA or Fullerton, or him getting recruited at Wisconsin. It's the same thing. These guys he's recruiting, probably got 10 other guys recruiting him.
Yep.
Finally, what is your advice for the next generation of young football players out there looking to work their way up the ladder in this game?
I would say to those young guys, control the controllables. And that's always what I preach, man. There's only 2 things in life you can control: your work ethic and your attitude. Don't leave what ifs. Don't think to yourself when you're done playing. And one thing I'm so grateful for is that when I finished the game, I didn't have any, man, if I would have did this, if I would have did that. I was completely satisfied with how I exited out the game. I thought I gave every single part of myself to the game. This is your job now, and you should approach it as one. Because if you're not getting better, I know it's kind of cliche where they say if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. But I truly believe that, man. I think every day you should be doing something in order to be the best player you possibly could be. Does that mean you need to be running sprints on the hill every day? No, that means maybe instead of eating Doritos, playing a video game, maybe you should do some yoga or some light stretching. Yep. Or maybe you should get on a bike and do some treadmill. Maybe you should do 200 push-ups that night. It doesn't have to be 2-hour workouts. Maybe it's a 30-minute stretch. Maybe you go take a walk around the neighborhood just to kind of get your blood moving. But there needs to be something that you do every day. Maybe it's reading. But I think too many times or not, guys take their position for granted, or guys don't understand that the NFL does stand for not for long. And the good player, the average career is 3 years. For running backs, it's even shorter. And so, you take that and you do what you want with it. But that's my advice that I get to the younger generation.
You should be doing something every day. I always tell people that. I said the best athletes, like at Floyd Mayweather, LeBron. I go, these guys have got millions, hundreds of millions. I go, these guys work out every day. I go, even on vacation, they're riding a bike. They're doing something active. I said, I guarantee you that. I know it. I work with them. They're doing something every day. So it's not just, you can take a vacation, but you go jog, go get on an elliptical, stretch, ice, recover. There's no days off. And because if you take a day off, someone's waiting for your job.
Yep.
That's younger and cheaper.
Yep. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
Mm-hmm. Marcus Cromartie, it's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed having you on the podcast, and thank you again for sharing your story and giving advice out there for the next young generation of football players out there. So thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Thank you guys, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Marcus.